All right, everybody, welcome to Ladies Night. My name is Melissa Sage-Bollenbach, and I'm super excited to be here with two wonderful ladies from Southside Sox. I have my colleague Hannah Flippo, and from MLB The Show, I have Ashley Sanders. We are so excited to have Ashley back. She is a live designer for MLB The Show with Sony Interactive Entertainment. And she came to us last year and ended up being our most listened to and watched podcast out of all of our Southside Sox podcasts. And we have a lot of Southside Sox podcasts. So we're super excited to have Ashley back with us. And we're just going to kind of jump in, and we're not going to rehash too much of what we talked about last year because I want to talk about new things with Ashley. So if you want to hear all about her journey and how she got to where she is, you're going to have to go and listen to our show from last year so that we can just chat and find out all kinds of new information today. So Ashley, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you both for having me. I'm super excited back for year two. This is great.
Yeah, well, get used to it because it's going to be back for year 2, or we're going to have it all.
There we go.
So last year we got to hear about your journey and your fandom, but give us a brief refresher on what exactly a live designer is.
Yeah, I'll kind of take it back one more step. So within MLB The Show, there's many different modes, whether it's franchise mode, where you take over a team, control it, whether it might be storylines mode, which is our integration with the Negro Leagues, where you're able to experience the different stories of those players throughout their careers. I work in a mode called Diamond Dynasty, and this is your dream team type mode, where what you're looking to do is you're playing a handful of single player modes, multiplayer modes, with the overall goal of earning cards, collecting cards, and truly building your dream team of superstars of today, legends of yesterday, and then the future stars of tomorrow. So I work within that mode, Diamond Dynasty. So as a live designer, I'm designing and creating all of the content people are playing, how they're earning those different players that they're then constructing their team with. So I like to think that that's one hat that I wear. What you don't really get out of the live design title, if you will, is I do a lot with our communications as well. I lead and write all of our streams, any recorded video that I'm a part of, even some that I'm not a part of, I'm also writing and hosting and being a part of. I write and edit social copy, marketing copy. I work closely with our PR team as well. So truly, it's really full circle of being able to not only create and write content within the game, but because I have that structure and foundation, I'm then able to extrapolate out of it and help with our socials, help with our marketing, help with our streams. And it's like a full circle, knowing that I started at Southside Sox for 3 years before I landed this gig.
Wow, yeah, I remember last year you were telling us all the different hats and stuff that you wear. And it's so cool because you have so many areas that you get to touch and interact with. So I'm sure a typical day for you looks different every day because you do
Yes.
different things. But just kind of give us a typical day or typical week and kind of how that looks for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think today is a perfect example. It's a Monday that we're filming, and it's also a stream week where this upcoming Friday I'm going to stream at the San Diego studio. So today it's all about kind of looking ahead in future work. What are the projects on my docket? What can I get ahead on that's not necessarily related to the live events that's currently going on in the Major League Baseball season? All right, let me pinpoint that. Now I know what I have. Let me go design and create and then test that content. Knowing we have a stream on Friday, my Wednesday will look a little bit different, where today was kind of, head down, put in the work, get all the different designs and content made and created. Wednesday, I start focusing more on the stream, where I've already written the outline. My goal is to always write them at least 1 to 2 weeks before we even stream, so that I can put all the different pieces together. It's like one of my favorite parts of the job, just putting the different puzzle pieces that is content together, one to kind of throw in surprises for fans, all that fun stuff. So on Wednesday is when we're going to rehearse all of that. So half of my day is going to go into just rehearsing what that stream looks like, gathering any last minute assets that we haven't gathered already, making sure on the technical side, all that looks good to go. And then on Friday, I'll come in as early as possible on Friday. We usually stream at 11. I'm an early bird in the office. It's West Coast vibes here. A lot of, which is so weird to me as like a Chicagoan, is people don't usually start their days until like 10 a.m. I can't do that. I am literally like ready to go at 8 a.m. because I just want to like have as much as my late afternoon, early evening free. So I'll get in early on Friday morning just to make sure, once again, everything we prepped on Wednesday is good to go. Kind of get into that zone. And then we stream. Then with that, we always have content that comes out on Friday. So I'll make sure all that goes well. And if it does, hopefully my Friday afternoon involves playing all the content that's now out.
Wow, how fun.
Right?
I last year I had my prop with me. I had the 2025 version of MLB The Show that was belonged to Sage. But this year he's at the Disney College program in Florida. So I don't have the new one to like show off. You want to like kind of talk us through some of the new things that are out this year?
For sure. You should have told me. I actually, my copy's in the other room. I could have put it on. That's okay. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's so many areas that are new. One of the modes I didn't mention on the top of the hour is a mode called Road to the Show. Very incredible, popular mode. It's actually what introduced me into MLB The Show. So in Road to the Show, that is your journey of becoming a ball player and trying to make it to the big leagues, and then to then have as well of a career as you possibly can have. So new this year, well, we added it last year. We added high school and some colleges last year. This year, we added even more colleges. We added 11 colleges. There's 19 total schools that people can choose from. If they're able, we have to meet the different requirements of the schools to be scouted to then be able to pick them. But my favorite feature of it is Road to Cooperstown, where there's finally a Hall of Fame component to Road to the Show. You're not just kind of playing season over season over season just to kind of boost your numbers. You actually get new and malleable goals per your season to help you really have like a clear view of making the Hall of Fame that we didn't have in years past. So that's something that's really new. The area that I work in, Diamond Dynasty, there's always something that's new because it's dictated on the Major League Baseball season. Additionally, the World Baseball Classic returned this year, so we were able to introduce that tournament bracket style into an already existing mode within Diamond Dynasty. I talked about single player and online player modes. We have a mode called mini seasons, which it's you against the CPU. So we were able to have the WBC in there. We had over 500 of the rostered players available that made up all the different teams. And then additionally, we had over 140 cards that you can earn of World Baseball Classic players that you can add to your Diamond Dynasty team. So, Sam Antonacci, Kyle Teal, amongst many others were represented in those 140 cards. So those are like the two biggest areas that I'm most excited about. And then storylines, it's season 4, whole new roster of legends for people to learn about.
Hannah, I know you had a question about the cover of.
Yeah, I did. Like, how do you? I know that my fiance really likes the show, and I've
Nice.
played a little bit of it. I know that in the past, it was always an interesting. It was always interesting to see who would get picked for the cover. How do you? Are you part of that, or what? Can you share anything about how athletes get picked to be on the cover?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a little above my pay grade on how they get picked. However, I can share with you how like Aaron Judge got picked. It was just kind of like the picture perfect scenario of, some of our directors as well as marketing works very closely on who to pick to represent the themes we're going for with each MLB The Show. Judge, it was pretty straightforward. You have a multi-time MVP, World Baseball Classic. He was named the Team USA captain. So knowing we wanted to go into all of that, not to mention, the high school and college component that Judge played through in his early career days that we have the last 2 years in Road to the Show and MLB The Show. So from Fresno State to Team USA captain to then just, multi MVP, reached the World Series. I know he didn't have the World Series that he wanted, but he was really just like the picture perfect athlete given all the themes we encapsulated this year.
It sounds like a really thoughtful decision with and of course, I would expect that from you're gamifying a game. What types of like challenges or like really fun, creative things do you get to do and that come with gamifying an already established game?
Oh, that's a great question. It's always fun finding the little twists, like what you're trying to say for baseball in and of itself. doesn't change too often. I mean, and we make incremental changes, but at the end of the day, like throwing a ball is throwing the ball, catching the ball is catching the ball. What is exciting is when Major League Baseball makes some changes, being able to incorporate that into the game. So we all know the automated ball strike system, otherwise known as ABS, that made its way into MLB The Show this year in our offline mode. So people are literally able to challenge balls and strikes, whether it's Road to the Show, whether it's franchise mode, whatever it might be that people enjoy playing. So it's always fun to kind of have those different, or have what Major League Baseball is having the same year that they introduce it. We also try to add a couple other things. On the topic of gameplay, we introduced something called bear down pitching. Even though I'm a Packers fan, I know many Southside Sox listeners are probably huge Bears fans, so I know that name resonates with many of them, where we took the inspiration of, say, like Yoshinobu Yamamoto's performance in the World Series, where he pitched in literally back-to-back days. He had to close out the game. He really had to, for lack of a better phrase, bear down. So we were able to add a mechanic that gives you a little extra velo on your fastball or a little extra break on your breaking ball, whichever pitch you're choosing, to give you just like a little extra advantage when it comes to the pitcher. Last year, we introduced something called ambush hitting. We were able to kind of predict which zone or which part of the zone the ball might be hit to. And if you guess correctly and able to square up the ball, you get a little bit extra exit velo, better vision on that play. So now this year, the pitchers got their love with this little bear down mechanic. So it's fun. It's a mix of what's happening in Major League Baseball that we want to integrate, what's also happening that we can gamify that is bear down. And then for my work with the live team and Diamond Dynasty, how are the events in Major League Baseball, like the World Baseball Classic, able to then influence our game? We were able to get the tournament bracket into our mini seasons modes, and then of course just a whole new roster of players that many people stateside don't get to experience until the World Baseball Classic.
So if I did my math correctly, the game has been around for 20 years, right?
Yeah, 20, more than that, I want to say. I think it's 21 years if you count like since
count the
06.
actual, yes.
Yeah, but you were so right. Yes.
So when something has that long of a history, how do you make sure you're keeping true to what the game was, but then also keeping it fresh? How do you make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly where my team kind of thrives off of. We are, live designer. The live of that is letting the season of Major League Baseball play out to kind of influence our decisions. The World Baseball Classic, nobody's able to predict how that ended. Team Valenzuela, that was incredible. So we're able to then take, say, Michael Garcia, the MVP, make him a huge top card in something that you're not going to see in the early iterations of MLB The Show, just because the players are new, the modes are new. Within my mode, Diamond Dynasty, we have a lot of mini modes to allow you to kind of experience baseball in all different ways. Whether I mentioned mini seasons earlier, we have a ranked mode, which allows you to play 1v1 with your best squad against somebody else's best squad. So just different ways to kind of juice up and increase the experience versus, way back in 06 when there weren't as many modes or styles of baseball to choose from. Now it seems like we've covered our bases and then some in the way people can play baseball in all the different modes.
So, you mentioned kind of letting what's going on and happening in the game in real life impact the actual video game as well. So how do rebuilding and struggling teams factor into that? We're a little familiar with that on the South Side for the past few years. So how do you incorporate that part of it?
Yeah, luckily there's almost always some standouts even amongst those struggling teams. So what we do in the live content side is every Friday we release Tops Now and Spotlight cards. So we're able to take real life baseball cards that Topps is selling off their website, their Tops Now cards. And then every Friday we select as many as we can, put them in the game that captures the real life performances of those players. And then Spotlight gives us the flexibility of where Topps Now looks from a day-to-day performance structure. Spotlight gives us the ability to look at a week-to-week, if not a month-to-month, who are the real performers with any given stretch of time, within a week, within a month, whatever that might be, that are able to earn that award and then be able to be put into our game. Last year, we had a couple White Sox representatives. Obviously, when Colson Montgomery got called up, that was huge for his defensive play alone in shallow left field in Colorado. Miguel Vargas got his own spotlight card because of the tear he went on in May. Ever since he fixed his swing, if not June, his card was reached. So it's able to be put off because of those individual milestones and spotlight of players. We also have a huge roster of legends in our game, over 200 year in and year out. So we're able to pull from, some of our favorite Southside heroes. If maybe a current player isn't doing too much, pull in a legend, have their time shine.
That's awesome. That's so fun. So I know there's so many things that you've worked on throughout this process, but do you have like a favorite card or feature, something specific that you're like really, really proud of?
That's a great question. It's hard to choose, so I'll let recency bias kind of trait here, because for those who celebrate the Easter holiday was this past weekend. So I started in September of 2022. So MLB The Show 23 was my first full release. And I remember early on in MLB The Show 23, brainstorming with two of my coworkers, Lane and Kyle, and we were trying to figure out what to do around the Easter holiday. And I had suggested, what if we do an egg hunt in our game where we hide eggs amongst all the different modes that we have. We tie it to some mission. So somebody has to say steal bases and ranked and they'll find the egg. But then they have to go, tally 20 hits in Conquest to get an egg. Just how to kind of encourage people to dip their toes in all of the modes, collect the eggs, and then, collect those for different players and rewards within the game. So that was MLB The Show 23. It was a huge hit, so much so that we have brought it back ever since in 24, 25, and then this past Friday, it released in 26. So even though I wasn't the one creating it and running it these last couple of years, just based upon kind of my own self moving up the ladder, if you will, it's been really, really neat and rewarding to see an idea so early on in my career continue and be like a beloved tradition of our fans. And we started it last year, if not the year before, where the players that you're able to earn from collecting the eggs, they get their own dedicated art series for the cards. And this year, my goodness, it was my favorite. Our live art team knocks it out of the park year in and year out. So what started as just like a simple program of collecting eggs is now a full-blown tradition that our fans look forward to. It happens all the time. We get even more fancy in how we want to hide the eggs around our different modes. And then just the card art of the players themselves keeps like one-upping the year previous. So that's just been really, really cool to see.
It's impressive.
To take, like you said, just like a small, we're brainstorming and, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this? And and you did it and people loved it. And now in 20 years, when MLB The Show's 40 years old,
awesome.
You're gonna be like, we're still doing this, which is awesome. So
cool.
We're in that point of our podcast where we have to take a break so you can pay the bills. So hang with us and we will be right back. Okay, so we are back with Ashley Sanders, and we're now, because it is a White Sox podcast, we're going to talk some White Sox.
Let's go.
Okay, so you through this whole first half of the podcast, you talked about building a functional baseball experience. So naturally, it makes us pivot to the White Sox, right? Functional baseball. So, what do you think? What is kind of your general impression of the White Sox right now?
Yeah, so going into the season, I know we have a handful of games under our belt already. I don't want to say cautiously optimistic. I was very optimistic about this club, but like realistically optimistic, if that's even a phrase I can say, where knowing there's going to be potentially some sophomore slump, some growing pains, if you will, but also knowing like the talent's going to prevail, where I had this team around 70 to 75 wins. So still under 500, however, nowhere near the 100 plus loss mark. However, I stuck to it, my hot take prediction, and I'm still going to stick with it 9, almost 10 full games into the season. I want an 81-81, 500 even White Sox team. I think just based upon the early games of the season, they're going to have such vibrant wins and such frustrating losses. I think it's only fair to call it a 500 season. And then starting next year, barring whatever happens with the potential lockout in the CPA contract agreement, whatever you want to call it, I think starting next year, if we don't make the postseason for however many years this is going to run, it will start to be disappointing. But this year, you're going to go through your slumps. We're going to have a lot of talent. Murakami has been phenomenal. However, I think 81-81 is very possible with this group. I mean, we just swept the Blue Jays. Anything is possible. I'm still riding that high.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Red.
yeah, but so this weekend was great. The first 6 games before that, not so
Not
great.
so great.
Like panicking, like the rest of us, like we're just like, oh my gosh, here we go again, right? Like this is like insane. Like, did you have that moment, even though you are tend to be a positive person? Did you have a moment of like, oh, maybe I way overshot?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, just the roller coaster of emotions we go through on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure yourselves and many others are just like, it's 1 out of 162. All right, now it's 2 games out of 162. And I want to say, like, I heard it from Hawk Harrelson. Maybe there's somebody before him who said it, where it's you win 60, you lose 60. It's what you do with the other 42 that counts. So when I looked at the Brewers series, we were going to lose those first 2 games. That 3rd game, in my opinion, is a part of that other 42.
Yeah,
so that was a bit frustrating. Similar with the Marlins, it was game 2, I want to say, of that series, where we had 1 out, double play situation. Shane Smith overthrows my draft, I believe, was covering the bag. It goes in the outfield. And I want to say the Marlins put up 4, and like we just couldn't keep up the rest of that game, dropped the series there. So that another kind of going into the 42. And then you enter the Blue Jays series where I'm like, all right, the reigning AL champs, if we can get 1, that'd be great. If we can win the series, I'd be thrilled. A sweep was nowhere near on my mind. And the fact that we swept them, in my opinion, I would almost say all 3 of those games are part of the 42. And if I can do math, I'm getting very close to that 42 number already. So maybe I need to hold back a little bit. Maybe we need to change the saying. Maybe you win 50, you lose 50. It's the other 62. But it's one of those like day by day mentalities of allowing myself to be frustrated when we lose and get a little upset and like, oh, what is this team? While also being like, all right, there are still a lot of positives. Yes, maybe this was a blunder in the game, but Colson and Mooney both hit home runs. That's all that you want to see. Or yes, this didn't go to plan, but at least the opener has been working. Grant Taylor, his workload. So just trying to find those, like you said, the pieces of positivity and growth that we are wanting to see. Then if they do make a mistake, doesn't happen the next game. And if it does, why is it still happening? If it doesn't, I can live with it because that means they learned and they cleaned it up.
Yes. If they can not make them over and over and over again, like we
exactly
did in 2024 and still in 2025.
Yeah.
Balls bouncing off players' heads or things like that would be great.
I mean, it's still early to say, but I don't see the complete spiral. I don't see them completely spiraling nearly as much as they did before, and it's a small win, but small wins are what this team needs right now.
Oh, 100%. I love the way you say small wins. I think the more small wins we can like compile, that's just amazing. Like something I do love that the team's already doing already. I know they've been picked off or maybe been in some unfortunate rundowns that thanks to the Blue Jays went our way. I love the speed on the base pass. I love that Will's not afraid to send the runners, whether it's 1 out, 2 outs, 0 outs, whatever it might be. It's going to lead to a couple caught stealings, especially in today's game against the Orioles, where Derek Hill got tossed. So it was a strike him out, throw him out situation. But it's like, I can live with that because we're going to steal more than we're going to get caught.
Well, and once I had a little bit of time to be removed from the first 6 games, and then we had the sweep this weekend, and I was like, okay, so trying to positively frame it as well. In the past, that 6 games of badness could have easily turned into like a 10 to 12 games
Oh
of that,
yeah.
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But they stopped it, which I
Yes.
think is very different than before. Like it didn't snowball. It's like, okay, we put that, compartmentalized it where it needed to go, and came in and just took care of business this weekend with the Jays. So
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like, speaking of like just the roller coaster and like the compiling of emotions, the way game one against the Blue Jays went. Again, early lead, we scored in the first inning, we were able to maintain our lead. And then unfortunately, Jordan Leisure comes in, he gives up the game tying home run, the 2-run bomb. And it's like, even when we were just tied in that situation, it was like, and here we go again. Who's now going to score for the Blue Jays to get them the late lead? Then they're going to win. So to see both, although we gave up the lead, they did eventually take the lead, the Blue Jays, to be able to tie it in extras and then walk it off. Tristan Peters, unsung hero. That to me that's a game we lose, in my opinion, 100 out of 100 times last year.
right.
The fact that we won it and the way we did it so early in the season, I'm like, do I like that we blew the lead late? Absolutely not. Do I like that we didn't shut down and we did fight back and win? Love that. So I hope that's a trend of we're never truly out of the fight. Again, I'd like to see us keep those leads, but at least we're able to fight back.
Yes. And that, like you said, there was a reason why we were, I think it was 15-36 or whatever last year in one-run games. So the fact that we could rebound was definitely a positive sign. And we like positive signs here in
That's
Ladies.
what I'm saying.
So who is a current Sox player that you really want to break out this year? Do you have a breakout?
Ooh, that's a great question. Can I say a player who's not even on the White Sox yet?
Yeah, you sure can, because we're close to that deadline when, we're gonna see Tanner McDougal, we're gonna see Sam Antoinette. It's like, yeah, they're coming.
I was gonna say, I'm like, Sam Antonacci is like, I want to see him ASAP. Unfortunately, like when we're recording this, Austin Hayes went down earlier with a hamstring injury. So I'm like, if it's not Sam, who is it going to be? In my opinion, he is your best option right now. And I think when he joins the club, he's going to be a total spark plug, like many of these players already are. But to go with a player who is on the team, I know he's had a slow start to the season, but I know he's also one of your favorites, Edgar Caro. Like, I love him. I know all the media, a lot of the White Sox fans are very, very high on Kyle Teal, as they should be, as am I. But I feel like every other tweet I saw in the offseason during spring training, it was like, when are we trading Caro? When are we trading Caro? When are we trading Caro? I'm like, hold on. This kid is 22. He just turned 23 today. He's a switch hitter catcher. Yes, he has areas of his game to improve defensively, but he showed us he can swing it offensively last year. I'm like, let him develop. Best case scenario, we have two stud catchers, and whatever we do in the future, we do in the future. But I'm like, don't release him before we have a chance to really like hone in on his talent, because he is talented.
Yes, and like you said, yeah, happy birthday to Edgar today at 23.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
He's so young
for a catcher too. A lot of times you see the other position players coming up really young, but like a young catcher like that just is, it's such a gem. And like you said, you don't just give those away willy-nilly.
No. Yeah. It's a great reminder of like the internet doesn't always know sometimes, and that's no shade for anyone. It's just, what's going to be the engagement, what's going to be the reaction. It's like, all right, the Sox aren't training a 22, now 23-year-old catcher in the height of their rebuild. They're going to let it play out first and foremost. And I would love to have a Kyle Teal, Edgar Caro, catcher DH almost every day for as long as they're going to be on the team.
Yep, 100%. Well, speaking of our young players, I want to ask you about this. So I know you met Colson Montgomery this spring at one of your events. So tell us about that experience and what that moment was like for you.
Oh my goodness, it was wild. So to set the scene for our listeners who maybe didn't know, MLB The Show had a content creators event a week before we launched in early March in Arizona, up in Scottsdale. So in the first half of the day, we invited out a handful of content creators. They got to ask us developers a bunch of questions. Then they were able to like play and record the game, do all that stuff. But for the second half of the day, while they're still able to play and mingle and all of that, the area, I don't know if it was the headquarters of the Players Association, but it was a building associated with the Players Association. So the second half of the day was open to the public, and by public, any players and their family and friends who had signed up or just got word of mouth, however that might be. So we're at the event. It's like the middle of the afternoon, if I remember. And there's a big like pillar that blocks the entrance, and I was just standing by it. I was talking to a couple creators, a couple of my coworkers, and for whatever reason, I decided to poke my head around it to see if anyone new has walked in, and instantaneously see 6 foot whatever, the curly brownish hair, and I'm like, it clocked right away that I turned back to everyone who I was talking to, and I go, "That's Colson Montgomery," and they're all like, "Huh? What? Who? What? What's going on?" Because like they weren't expecting it.
Great.
Sure enough, Colson Montgomery and his partner, I want to say she was there too, had walked into the event, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And like I never thought I was going to be a person who got starstruck because, again, speaking of the youth, I'm like, this is a 23-ish, 24-year-old person athlete that's just a couple years younger than me. Like, why am I like nervous all of a sudden? But I'm like, no, that's Colson. So I'm first and foremost always want to be super respectful and polite. I never want to make a big scene out of everything. So all my coworkers were like, go up to him, go up to him. I'm like, listen, he just walked in. Give him a second. When he walks right when he walks toward us, if he's interested in the game, then I'll politely, very quickly, like, hey, excuse me, kind of a deal. So sure enough, that's what happened. 2 players were playing on the couch, and he happened to go by that couch and just kind of watch them. I'm like, 5 seconds of courage. It's all I need is go up. And so I literally go up, and I don't even acknowledge him at first. I had no plan other than don't think, have 5 seconds of courage, go up. So at first I'm talking with the 2 players who are on the couch playing the game, asking them how it's going. And then I'm like, I got to do it. So then I turn to him and I go, excuse me, are you Colson Montgomery? I'm Ashley. I'm a big White Sox fan. Rest is history. He was just super polite, super, super kind with his time. We talked video games for a little bit. At the end of our conversation, I asked for a quick picture. He was more than thrilled to do it. And then very polite interaction. And then after that, I'm always like, was I weird? Was that too much? Should I have bugged him? He and his girlfriend sat down and played a full 9-inning game. He was the White Sox. I want to say she was the Phillies. She ended up beating him. We all heard what was going on. It was fantastic. So to see him kind of come in, be so kind and polite and generous with his time with me, which was just a couple of minutes, and then for them to stay and play the game themselves, was super, super special. I always was a big fan of him, was going to root for him. Now knowing that he's also just a fantastic person on top of being a fantastic player, I'm like, bro, you have a fan for life now.
Yep. Well, it's just so cool when your fandom can interact with your profession, and like it's just like a dream come true kind of thing. Like, wow,
100%.
Those super cool moments. I know for Hannah and I, we got to cover Sox Fest this year, and we got to do player interviews, and it was like, we got to interview Colson. I'm like, I'm asking Colson Montgomery questions. Like, it was so crazy.
What I'm hearing is like, we're the founders of the Colson Montgomery fan club.
Yes.
Yeah, they're from the beginning. It does feel though like when they walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so, and you're trying to be like, they're just normal people, like don't make a big deal out of it. But at the same time, you're like, oh my gosh, like I've been watching you, I've been following you, and trying not to let the fandom like eep out too much. But it is a definitely a relatable thing.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I'm glad you said, like, I don't believe I'm anywhere near that level. Like, every once in a while I get like noticed at a Sox game when I'm back in town, or even at Padres games here. And like for me, I always love it. People are always so kind. They say hello, and I don't even think twice of it. I'm like, oh, that was a fan. They were so happy. They were so polite. Da 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 da. But then when I'm on the other side of, do I go up to him? Do I say hi? When do I time it? Like, I'm overthinking such a simple event. To your point, Hannah, like, these are just people. They're just players. They probably enjoy just the honest, kind, respectful interaction, and then you move on with your day. So it's just funny how we kind of frame it of depending on what situation we're in.
All right. Well, our time just flew by, of course. So that means that you're just going to have to come back again, Ashley.
Gonna have to.
And we can check in, mid-season check in on the White Sox and everything. But how can people, I know I follow you on social media, but how can folks follow you to kind of keep up to date with what's going on?
Yeah, I'm most active on Twitter, and then I also have a public Instagram account as well. So on Twitter, I'm Ashley22Sanders. Then on my public Instagram, it's Ashley_Sanders_22. If there's no extra underscore, that's my private one, and I won't accept your follow requests. But yeah, Instagram and Twitter. Twitter is my mainstay still. All I do is tweet about the White Sox and tweet about the show.
Yeah, that's me too. Just tweet about the White Sox, nothing else.
My favorite pastime.
All right. Well, thanks to all of our listeners for listening to us, and we will be back at you before you know it. All right.